Early the next morning,
7:15 a.m.
the July sun of the Olympic Peninsula filtered through the pine needles, scattering gold onto the red dirt road leading to the ocean. A black SUV parked discreetly at the end of the road, under the shade of an old elm tree. Dante sat in the driver's seat, sunglasses masking his eyes, hands resting on the wheel, relaxed, but ready to gun the engine in 2 seconds. Enzo stepped out alone. He stood by the rotting wooden fence in front of Leora's house. He wore a black dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to the elbows revealing solid forearms, and a black mineral glass watch. It was simple, yet radiated an unmistakable aura. Compressed power, calculated control in every movement. Long black trousers, black leather shoes. Dark sunglasses hid his gray-blue eyes. The porch door opened. Leora stepped out, her brown hair tied back, wearing simple loungewear that still highlighted her graceful posture. Her face was clean of makeup, and she held a glass of water. She froze when she saw him. "You?" Enzo took off his sunglasses. His gray-blue eyes looked at her, softer than yesterday, but maintaining a polite distance. "I felt I haven't properly thanked the person who saved my life." Leora gave a small smile, light, comfortable, the smile of someone not easily intimidated by an unexpected arrival. "How do you intend to thank me today?" Enzo raised the mother-of-pearl pendant to eye level, the moon against the night sky shimmering in the morning sun. "There's a small cafe nearby that I really like. The atmosphere there should be perfect for reuniting with a long-lost keepsake." His voice was calm but not cold. He was consciously softening his usual tone. "You dropped it on my boat. I figured it was important, so I brought it back as soon as possible." Leora's eyes lit up. She looked at the pendant, then at him, and her smile shifted from polite to deeply genuine. "Okay, are we taking your car?" She gestured slightly toward the house. "Wait for me to change." "I'll wait right here." Enzo stood perfectly still in the sun, hands in his pockets, his eyes sweeping over the simple 2-story house. Peeling paint, a mossy tin roof, fishing nets drying on the wooden porch. In his mind, the words from Leora Vance's file surfaced. Ancient dive gear, primary breadwinner. The house before him was living proof of every word. The door opened again. Leora stepped out, and Enzo had to skip a breath to keep his expression neutral. She wore a simple, fitted white V-neck t-shirt, so basic there was almost nothing to comment on, but on her it became something else entirely. Straight-leg jeans accentuated the length of her legs. Her hair was pulled back in a half-updo, exposing her collarbones and the elegant line of her neck. Clean white sneakers. No accessories, no makeup. Beautiful, dynamic, yet soft. The kind of beauty that became more radiant the simpler it was. Once again, Enzo was struck by her rustic beauty, a beauty that needed nothing but itself. The cafe sat on a rocky outcrop overlooking the sea, a 10-minute drive from Leora's house. It was a small Mediterranean-style wooden building, whitewashed walls, turquoise wooden window frames, and a warm terracotta tile roof. Tropical greenery draped over the porch, fan palms, ferns, and vibrant purple-pink bougainvillea creeping all over the trellis, creating cool patches of shade against the July sun. Light-colored wooden tables were scattered across the patio, spaced far enough apart for private conversations. And right in front was a sweeping ocean view stretching to the horizon, the jade-green water sparkling brilliantly in the fresh daylight. The sea breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the smell of salt, roasted coffee, and the distant sound of waves. Enzo ordered a black espresso. Leora ordered an iced lemonade. They sat at a corner table looking straight out at the ocean. Enzo placed the mother-of-pearl pendant on the table between their drinks. The moon against the night sky lay still on the pale wood, gleaming with iridescence. "This is beautiful," he said, looking at it. "The engraving is meticulous. It's definitely handmade." Leora took the necklace back, squeezing it gently in her palm, her fingers brushing over the shell as if greeting an old friend. "My mother made it," she said, her voice soft but steady. "She made it a week after I was born." That night, from the hospital window, she saw a full moon shining down on the ocean, so bright the whole bay seemed to glow. She said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. So when she got home, she took a piece of mother-of-pearl she found by the sea, polished it, and carved the moon into it. "For me." "So you were born right on the full moon," Enzo said. "When the moon is at its brightest?" Leora smiled faintly, her eyes squinting in the sun. "On a spring tide, the day the sea gives us its greatest wonders. My mother always wanted me to be proud of who I am, like a symbol of the abundance the ocean provides. She stopped. Her smile softened. She looked out at the water. It's just a shame she left so early. A beat of silence. The sea breeze swept over the table, gently swaying the purple bougainvillea. "You're the best diver in this area," Enzo said, his voice deep. "And your love for the sea would make your mother proud, wherever she is." Leora looked at him, briefly surprised. Then she gave a small nod. "Thank you for returning this to me." Enzo chuckled softly, taking a sip of his espresso. Bitter. Hot. Fitting for the morning. Leora set the necklace down, her fingers still lightly touching the shell, and looked up straight at him. Her phoenix eyes were sharp, unflinching. "But I'm sure you didn't come to see me in person just because of this necklace." Enzo kept his face neutral, but inside he admitted it. This girl read people better than he thought. He set his coffee cup down, looked out at the sea for a moment, then turned back to her. "The sea is a part of me. Just like you, Leora." His voice was slow, carefully selecting every word. "But I love the sea in a different way, not by immersing myself in it as you do. The incident underwater the other day, that's something that rarely happens to me." He paused. "And I know you also feel the ocean is showing signs of an anomaly." Leora stayed silent. She stirred her iced lemonade slowly, steadily, like someone weighing exactly how much to reveal. Enzo leaned forward. "I am Enzo Carboni, head of the Carboni family. Everything my family has built comes from the ocean's resources. So since my father's generation, preserving this ecosystem has been deeply ingrained in our blood. My father made a lifelong promise to protect these waters, and I inherited that promise." He looked her dead in the eye. "If you ask any fishermen around here, they'll tell you we aren't illegal exploiters." Leora stopped stirring. She looked down at her glass, then out at the ocean, then back at him. In her mind, the déjà vu flashed again. The cliff, the holding hands, the moonlight on the water. That image kept returning whenever she thought of him, and she still didn't understand why. "You felt the anomaly too," she said, her tone dropping its guard, becoming direct. "So you went diving yourself to investigate." "Right." Enzo nodded. "And that's why I had the accident. Before I could uncover the truth in detail." Leora sat in silence for a while. The sea breeze carried the smell of salt across their table. Then she spoke, her voice calm and clear. "You want me to investigate the cause of this anomaly?" Enzo gave a slight smile, not a polite one, but the smile of a man whose cards had just been accurately read. "I think you already have the answer, don't you?" Leora looked at him, weighing her options. Then she made her decision. And when Leora Vance makes a decision, she never does it halfway. A small cylindrical device the size of a forearm, encased in gray metal, camouflaged with fake moss, leaking a thick blue liquid into the water. She spoke cleanly, precisely like a field report. "I didn't have time to take samples or do much else, because I had to save you. That's all I know. But if we don't intervene soon, I think the consequences will hit faster than we can imagine." Enzo nodded slowly. His eyes darkened, not with anger, but with the intense focus of someone slotting puzzle pieces into place. Then he spoke, his voice resolute and commanding. "I want you to partner with me. Use your diving expertise and your understanding of the ecosystem to track the source of the devices at the bottom of the sea. I will provide the gear, the ships, and the manpower. In exchange, you share all your findings and maintain absolute secrecy." He paused, then added, "I will pay you triple what you make from your kelp harvests for every dive. And if, during our partnership, you feel I have malicious intentions, you can walk away at any time. No strings attached." Hearing this, Leora didn't answer immediately. She looked out at the sea. The jade-green water sparkled, so peaceful it was hard to believe something was down there killing every branch of coral. Then she turned back. "I don't do it for the money," she said. "The sea is being murdered, and I, alone with my waterproof camera and a kelp knife, don't have the power to stop it. I need an ally with enough resources to take action." She looked right at him. "You can pay me whatever you want, but my reason for agreeing isn't money. It's for the ocean." Enzo nodded. And for the first time that morning, perhaps the first time in a very long time, he smiled genuinely. Not his controlled, calculated smile. A real smile. The corners of his mouth lifted, crinkling the skin around his eyes, and his gray-blue gaze warmed by a few degrees. "For the ocean," he repeated. 2 drinks sat on the table, the black espresso gone cold, the ice in the lemonade melted, but neither of them noticed. Out in front of them, the ocean of the Olympic Peninsula stretched wide under the July sun, deep blue, peaceful, and slowly being poisoned from the inside out. For the next 2 weeks, everything operated in absolute secrecy. Enzo commanded from the Carboni yacht, turning it into a floating headquarters. Leora dove every day, 4 to 5 hours straight, surveying the entire coastal waters of the Olympic Peninsula, from the offshore reefs to the coastal underwater caves. Dante handled security, making sure no one was tracking them. Enzo brought in specialists, 2 water analysis experts, a dive technician, and 3 highly trusted family members to stand guard on deck. Many days, Leora didn't even return to shore. She stayed overnight on the yacht. She needed to monitor the progress closely, cross-check water samples across different zones, and work with Enzo to review every step to ensure they moved fast enough without creating suspicious patterns. In these waters, a boat running the same route too many times a week was enough to tip off a watchful enemy. The result? 4 similar cylindrical devices found scattered across the reefs at 4 highly strategic points, the exact spots where the ocean currents would spread the toxin the furthest and fastest. All leaking blue liquid, all camouflaged with fake moss. This was no coincidence. It was a highly organized campaign. Someone understood the local currents, understood how to systematically destroy the ecosystem, and was executing it step by step. Enzo used his intelligence network to track the source. The communication lines, the financial transactions, the supply chains all led back to one name: Marco Slade, a biotech smuggler who specialized in selling environmental weapons to underworld syndicates. He supplied the tech, he deployed it, and he supervised it. But Slade was just a pawn, and behind every pawn is a king. Enzo knew who the king was before his intel even confirmed it. Valerio, the boss of the rival syndicate to the south. A man who wanted to conquer the entire coast by destroying the resources Carboni controlled, kill the ecosystem, bleed Enzo's resources dry, and swoop in to take over. This wasn't a war fought with bullets. It was fought with poison. Sophisticated, ruthless. Enzo didn't confront him head-on. Not yet. Instead, he played chess. He had his people approach Slade, paying him significantly more than Valerio did, buying him off to act as a double agent. Slade pretended to report back to Valerio. Everything is going perfectly, Carboni suspects nothing. Meanwhile, Leora and the team quietly dismantled the devices, rehabilitated the ecosystem, and gathered evidence of the entire conspiracy. Every device was logged, photographed, sampled, and analyzed, packaged into a dossier that Enzo could use to destroy Valerio whenever he needed, without firing a single shot. A chain of stratagems. This was what Enzo did best. But over those 2 weeks, what haunted Enzo wasn't the master plan or the enemy. It was Leora. He watched her from the deck every day. She dove for 4 hours straight without complaining of fatigue, surfacing with nets full of samples, delivering clear, precise reports. She analyzed water samples using pure instinct and experience, smelling, observing, tasting, and provided assessments that the lab experts later confirmed with 100% accuracy. 12 years of living with the ocean had given her a technology no machine could replace: intuition. And he watched how she treated the ocean. Every time she detached a toxic device from the reef, she checked the surrounding coral, gently, carefully, like a doctor examining a patient. When she found a tiny fish trapped in the chemical sludge, she paused her mission to untangle it and release it into clean water. No one asked her to. No one even saw it, except Enzo watching through binoculars on the deck. And every time he looked, he had the same thought. She is beautiful. Not the kind of beauty that requires the perfect lighting or a rehearsed pose. She was beautiful in any moment, from any angle. When she tilted her head to listen to the currents, when she broke the surface and slicked her hair back, when she squatted on the edge of the boat logging samples with the sun hitting her shoulder, every image was like a painting that could be framed instantly. The fisherman called her the daughter of the sea. Watching her now, Enzo understood. It wasn't a nickname. It was the truth. She was the embodiment of everything his father had ever taught him about the sea: reverence, patience, and a pure love that demanded nothing in return. And Enzo had a habit he never spoke of, and didn't need anyone to know. Every time Leora was about to surface after a dive, he was already standing at the edge of the deck. In his hand, a neatly folded dry towel. Next to it, a mug of hot ginger tea he had brewed himself. He didn't ask Dante, didn't order anyone else. Every single time, she would climb onto the deck, pull off her mask, wet hair sticking to her cheeks, her breathing still heavy, and the first thing her hand would touch was the towel placed exactly where she always reached for it. She never asked who prepared it. He never said he did it. But Dante saw everything. And the 10-year veteran bodyguard said nothing, only offering a slight smirk before turning away. And for the first time in 10 years beneath the July sun, amidst the smell of salt and sea breeze, hearing her call out, "Sample number 4 is clean." From the water, Enzo Carboni felt the ice inside his body thaw, just a little, but enough for him to notice. But Slade was loyal to no one but himself. Leora was the first to realize it, because the sea cannot lie, and she knew how to listen to the sea. During a dive to inspect a cleared zone, where the team had removed a device 2 weeks prior, she noticed an anomaly. The water was clearer than usual. Unnaturally clear. Light penetrated too deeply, visibility stretched too far. The surface shimmered a little too beautifully, like a painting deliberately made to look perfect. She narrowed her eyes. 12 years on the ocean floor had taught her. When nature looks too perfect, something is wrong. She took water samples at various depths, brought them back to the boat, analyzed them with her own experience first, then handed them to the experts for cross-checking. The results matched. Slade had introduced a special compound, one that increased water transparency, creating the illusion of cleanliness to the naked eye, while the core of the water source remained deeply toxic. It was a perfect camouflage. It fooled basic sensors, fooled human eyes, and would have fooled the experts if they had only checked the surface. Slade had calculated perfectly. After removing all 4 devices, the logical next step was ecosystem recovery. No one goes back to rigorously test water that has already been cleared. He bet the Carboni team would see crystal clear water and feel secure moving forward. But he couldn't factor in one variable, Leora. Someone who had lived with the sea for 12 years using her senses. Someone to whom the slightest change in the ocean was as obvious as the smell of oxygen in the air. She didn't need a machine to know the sea was lying. Leora reported to Enzo. He listened, remaining silent, the kind of silence before a storm. Then he nodded. "Monitor Slade. Don't engage. Wait for him to expose himself." He exposed himself faster than they thought. That night, the Carboni yacht was anchored offshore. Everyone was resting after a long day. Leora was walking along the deck. She often did this, pacing the deck before bed, listening to the waves, looking at the stars, when she heard a voice drifting from the stern over the wind. Slade's voice, whispering into a phone, hidden behind a smokestack. "Carboni doesn't suspect a thing. The new agent is working perfectly. Proceed with phase 2 as planned. Tell Valerio not to worry." Leora stood 3 meters away, hidden behind the stack, the sea breeze masking her breathing. She heard every word clearly. "Carboni doesn't suspect a thing. Phase 2. Tell Valerio not to worry." Her instincts kept her perfectly still, ears straining, eyes narrowed. But as she took a half step back to retreat, the toe of her shoe snagged a loose coil of anchor rope on the wooden deck. A soft thump, faint, almost negligible against the sound of the night waves. Almost. But Slade was a man kept alive by his paranoia. He heard it. He hung up, turned around, and saw her. They stared at each other. 1 second, long enough for both to realize. She heard everything and he knew she heard everything. Slade's face shifted, from relaxed to stone cold in a single breath. He shoved his phone into his pocket, stepped forward, slowly, even controlled steps. The steps of a man used to terrorizing people and enjoying the sight of his victims cowering before he struck. "It's you, huh?" he said, his voice low, gravelly, paired with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "A bitch who likes swimming in the ocean. What do you think you are? You're just a grain of salt in a vast sea." He stopped right in front of Leora, close enough for her to smell the acrid tobacco and the stench of his lies. Leora took a half step back, not out of fear but a reflex to maintain distance. But Slade was faster. He grabbed her arm, gripping it tight, and yanked her violently toward the railing. Kidnapping. Tying up loose ends. The stern of the boat was empty at that hour, or so Slade thought. Fast as lightning, a dark shadow lunged from the blind spot of the cabin. A brutal kick, precise, savage, wasting not an ounce of energy, slammed right into Slade's chest. He launched backward into the hull, his spine cracking against the steel railing, the metallic thud ringing dull in the night. He crumpled to the deck. Enzo stood there. His leg is still holding the posture of the strike. His gray-blue eyes were freezing, colder than anything at the bottom of the ocean. Dante rushed in right behind him. He locked Slade's arms, pinning his face into the wooden floorboards. Professional, ruthless, without a single wasted motion. Enzo stepped in front of Slade. Looked down. Hands clenched. Jaw tight. Unblinking. His Mafia instinct, forged through 10 years of underworld wars, gave a clear command. Betrayal means death. He crouched down, grabbed Slade by the hair and yanked his head up. You played me. No question. A statement of fact. Slade, his nose smashed, blood leaking, eyes panicked, stammered. Enzo, let me explain. No need. Enzo reached out. And right at that moment, don't. Leora's voice. Calm. Clear. Cutting through the darkness. Enzo turned. Leora stood 2 paces away. Her hand was still trembling slightly where Slade had grabbed her, but her voice was as solid as rock. He still has value. The plan is still in motion. If you kill him now, Valerio will know instantly and change his entire strategy. Everything we've done over the past 2 weeks will be washed away. She looked straight at Enzo. She wasn't begging, she was analyzing. Give him one last chance. To trace the plot to the very end. Enzo knew exactly how important Slade was to the chessboard. And he also knew. Killing him right now was not a bad move. Nearly 2 decades steeped in conspiracies and strategies had taught him that when a traitor dies, the board loses a piece, but a great player always knows how to pivot with the pieces remaining. Killing Slade eliminated an immediate threat. It was settling accounts according to the rules of the underworld that everyone understood. Betrayal means death. But this time he listened to Leora. Not because he was weak, but because she was right. Keeping Slade alive meant no interruption in the timeline, no alerting Valerio, no wasting time rebuilding an intelligence network from scratch. But Enzo also understood the price. A traitor who has been exposed is a ticking time bomb, silent until it isn't, and by then it's too late to run. He let go of Slade's hair. He lives. But from now on, he looked down at Slade, his voice so quiet it was terrifying. Every step you take, I will know. Every breath you take, I will hear. And if you touch her one more time, I will show you exactly what it feels like to drown at the bottom of the ocean. Dante hauled Slade up and dragged him down to the lower deck. The footsteps faded away. The deck returned to silence, leaving only the waves, the wind, and the 2 of them. Enzo turned back to Leora. His gaze shifted, from the icy glare of a Mafia boss to something softer, more anxious. He looked at her arm, at the angry red bruise where Slade had grabbed her, and his jaw clenched tightly. Are you okay? Leora looked down at the bruise, then up at him. She gave a small smile, the kind of smile only someone used to facing violent seas possessed. Calm, resilient. I've been thrown against reefs much harder than that. I'm fine. Enzo said nothing else, but the way he stood, leaning slightly toward her, his shoulders angled outward to create an invisible shield, spoke louder than words. Then his hand reached out, slowly, unconsciously, his fingers almost touching the red mark on her arm. Close. Very close. But he stopped an inch away, hovering, as if making contact would confirm something he wasn't ready to face. He pulled his hand back, clenched it into a fist, squeezed until his knuckles turned bone white. Then, without a word, he turned and marched straight toward the lower deck, where Dante was holding Slade. Leora heard his footsteps growing heavier on the wooden stairs. Then a sickening thud, bone meeting flesh. One hit. Just one. Followed by total silence. Enzo returned to the deck a minute later. His right hand was slightly grazed on the middle knuckle. His face was calm. His eyes were cold, as if nothing had happened. He stood next to Leora, looking out at the dark sea, and said, his voice light, even just loud enough for the 2 of them to hear. Next time, you will not be alone at the stern. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't an order. It was a fact. The kind of fact that, when Enzo Carboni spoke it, heaven and earth had to register. A week later, the Carboni yacht anchored offshore under a crescent moon. Enzo sat at the bow alone. Slade was under tight surveillance. Every call, every message intercepted. The plan was progressing. But inside Enzo's chest, his intuition, the Carboni instinct that was never wrong, was knocking louder and louder. He needed answers. Enzo took off his shoes, sat on the edge of the deck, and let his legs dangle into the water. Freezing. The waters of the Olympic Peninsula were cold even in midsummer. But to him, a man who paid for his power with his own body heat, the cold was just an old friend. He closed his eyes, focused, took a deep breath, and pressed the palm of his hand against the surface of the water. Blue light flared beneath the clear water. The surface rippled, and the sea god appeared, hazy, majestic, an ancient face looking at Enzo with eyes as deep as an abyss. But this time it was different. Before speaking, the deity smiled. A slow, gentle, contented smile, like a calm sea after a storm. Enzo felt its meaning without words. He knows. He knew what Enzo was doing. Knew about the devices that had been removed. Knew the coral was recovering. The kelp was turning green again. The currents were clearing. And that very healing was the reason he could connect. 2 months ago, when the ocean was being poisoned, the channel between him and the deity was faint and broken, like static on a radio. Now the sea was healing, and their tether was clear, stronger than ever. Then the smile faded. The sea god's eyes darkened, and the prophecy came, clear, grave. A great battle is coming. The enemy does not just want to destroy the sea. He wants to wipe your family off the earth. The deity vanished. The water stilled. And inside Enzo's body the cold spread, from his hand up his arm, from his arm into his chest. He pulled his legs up, sitting curled up on the deck, his breath growing thin. The price. Every time he asked. Every time he saw the future. Every time he grew colder. He looked out at the night sea. Valerio didn't just want resources. He wanted blood. And a war, a real war, not a game of cat and mouse, was coming. In the distance, the lights in the cabin were on. Leora's silhouette was cast against the glass. She was sitting there, reading a book, peaceful, completely unaware that the man on the deck had just seen the future, and that future was drenched in blood. Enzo clutched the black titanium tag against his chest. The night sea, the streak of light. His father's words. There is always light on the water. Just don't forget to look up. He looked up, and he saw the cabin light, where Leora was sitting. The cabin of the Carboni yacht, late at night. Leora sat on the black leather sofa by the window, her legs pulled up, her back against the armrest, a marine ecology book open on her lap. The reading lamp cast a dim yellow glow. The waves gently slapped against the hull. Outside the glass, the night sea stretched out silently, the pitch-black water reflecting a few lonely stars. She wasn't reading. Her mind was stuck on the previous night. Not on Slade. Not on his grip, his threats, or the pungent smell of his cigarettes on the empty deck. Those memories had faded, just like the bruise on her arm, which was turning from purple to a yellowish green. It would heal. She had been battered by reefs much worse than that. What wouldn't fade was Enzo. It was the way he appeared, fast, precise, not missing a beat, as if he had been standing near her before it even happened, as if his instincts knew she needed him. It was the brutal kick, not blind violence but targeted protective force. He didn't hit Slade because he was a traitor. He hit him because he touched her. It was his hand reaching out afterwards, slow, unconscious, his finger stopping a single inch from the bruise on her arm. 1 inch. Hovering. As if touching it would validate something he wasn't allowing himself to admit. Then pulling it back. Clenching it into a fist. And walking straight down to the lower deck. A sickening thud echoing up. Paying for her bruise with the bones of his own hand. It was the way he returned. Knuckles scraped, face calm, eyes cold as if nothing had happened, and stood beside her, leaning his body slightly toward her, angling his shoulder to form an invisible shield, saying softly, "Next time you will not be alone at the stern." Leora took a deep breath, closed her eyes. She was used to reading the ocean, reading the undercurrents beneath still waters, reading the storm in clouds that hadn't turned gray yet, reading coral life that looked dead. And she could read Enzo. Beneath that cold exterior, beneath a decade of suppression, beneath those strictly controlled gray-blue eyes, there was a fierce undercurrent. He cared about her. Deeply. Truly. But he wouldn't allow himself to touch it. And it was that very restraint, that single inch of space between his fingers and her skin, that made Leora's heart race faster than any physical touch ever could. Because it showed her. He wasn't just acting on instinct. He chose. He chose to protect her. He chose to hold back out of fear of scaring her. He chose to vent his rage on Slade instead of letting her see him lose control. Every action was a conscious decision, and every decision was directed at her. The book slid off her lap, landing on the floor. Leora didn't pick it up. She looked out at the dark sea, her hand subconsciously clutching the mother-of-pearl pendant on her chest, and for the first time she admitted it to herself. She was waiting for morning, not for the ocean but because she would see him. A knock on the cabin door. Soft. 2 taps. Leora sat up straight.
Come in.
Enzo stepped inside. He was wearing a white dress shirt, collar unbuttoned, sleeves rolled high, his hair slightly messy from the sea wind. In his right hand he held a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses. His left hand was tucked into his pocket. He looked at her, at the book on the floor, the dim yellow lamp, her curled up on the sofa, and asked, "Not asleep yet?" "No." He placed the bottle on the table, poured 2 glasses, handed her one, and sat in the chair opposite her. The wine was a deep crimson, smelling rich and warm. Outside the window, just the night sea and the stars. A moment of silence. Comfortable. The kind of silence between 2 people who were used to each other's presence. No need to fill the space with words. Then Enzo spoke, his voice deep. "One night when I was 12, a storm had just passed. My dad woke me up at 3 in the morning, told me to put on my raincoat, and follow him to the sea." Leora looked at him. He was staring at his wine glass, twirling it slowly between his fingers, his eyes distant, the look of a man opening a door that had been shut for a very long time. "When we got to a small cove down south, I saw a pod of dolphins trapped. The storm had washed debris into the inlet, blocking their way out. 7 of them. 2 were calves swimming tightly against their mothers, panicked." He paused, taking a sip of wine. "My dad didn't say anything. He took off his coat and jumped into the water. 3 in the morning. Waves over his head. Water cold. He cleared the debris with his bare hands, hauling massive planks of wood, tangles of nets. All by himself. I stood on the shore crying," he said, his voice so quiet it was almost meant only for the wind outside the glass. "Because I was terrified he would die. Because I didn't understand why he was risking his life for some fish. When he finally swam back to shore near dawn, exhausted, hands torn up, lips purple, I asked him why. He looked at me and said." He stopped. His eyes looked out at the night sea through the window, and Leora saw, just for a fleeting moment, his eyes were wet. "They're not fish, son. They are family. Everything in this ocean is family. And family, you never leave them behind." Silence. Waves lapping the hull. The red wine catches the yellow light. "That's why I protect the sea," Enzo said, his voice returning to a steady, deep register. "Because my father taught me, the sea is family." Leora set her glass down. She looked at him for a long time, seeing the whole man behind the Mafia boss. The 12-year-old boy crying on the shore, the 26-year-old man clutching his father's keepsake, screaming at the ocean, and the 36-year-old man sitting in front of her, his eyes wet, telling a story he had probably never told anyone. "Your father was a wonderful man," she said, softly, sincerely. "Your father is too," Enzo replied. "He forbids you from going to sea because he's terrified of losing you. That is love. He just doesn't know how else to show it." Leora smiled, a bittersweet smile, the kind from a daughter who understands her father much later than she wishes she had. But the smile faded when Enzo lowered his voice and looked her straight in the eye. "Leora, I want to thank you. Over the last 2 months you did your job phenomenally, beyond my expectations. I know my life is vastly more dangerous and complicated than yours, but you still chose to stay. I am truly grateful for that. The sea is healing largely thanks to you." He paused, searching for words to say something he clearly didn't want to say. "And starting tomorrow, you should go home. Rest. Spend time with your dad and Maya." Leora put her glass down. Her phoenix eyes sharpened. She read between the lines. He wasn't telling her to rest because she was tired. He was telling her to leave because something was about to happen. Something dangerous. Something he wanted her far away from. "Something's about to go down, isn't it?" she asked. Enzo remained silent, long enough to confirm it. Leora wanted to ask more. She wanted to stay. But she understood, in this situation, her presence on the boat wouldn't help him. It might only cause more trouble. She was a diver, not a soldier. And sometimes, leaving is the only way to stand by someone. "I understand," she said. She gave a slight nod. Then silence. Long, heavy. The kind of silence that comes with a sudden parting, when both know tomorrow will be vastly different from today, but no one speaks it aloud. And it was in that exact moment, The suddenness of it, the impending separation, that something in Leora's chest broke free. Uncontrolled. Uncalculated. It was simply the truth, spilling out before she could swallow it back. "The time I've spent with you hasn't been that short, but it hasn't been that long either," she said, her voice softer than usual. She looked down at her wine glass, then back up at him. "But being able to help you in the ocean has made me feel more moved and a sense of purpose greater than anything I've ever done." She stopped. Swallowed. Then added, this sentence lighter, thinner, as if she herself was surprised to hear it spoken aloud. "I think there's a part of me that doesn't want to leave." Enzo froze. The wine glass in his hand stopped moving entirely. He looked at her, long and hard. His gray-blue eyes were violently shifting behind his calm facade. For 10 years, Enzo Carboni always carefully weighed every relationship, especially with women. In the Mafia world, emotions were a weakness, a hostage, a weapon enemies would use to break him. The women he knew, glamorous, calculating, playing by the rules, he kept at a distance, just close enough for satisfaction, and just far enough so no one had the right to make demands. Short-term, no strings attached, no promises, beginning in bed and ending before dawn. Clean, transactional, and hollow. But Leora wasn't from that world. She was pure, heartbreakingly simple and direct. And because of that, she was more dangerous than anyone he had ever met. Because with her, he couldn't keep his distance. Because she made him want to step closer. And that, in 10 years, had never happened. The obsession with the cold in his body, the sea god's curse, the price he had to pay, all the fences he built to keep himself from attaching to anyone, were rattling violently under the weight of one fragile sentence. "I think there's a part of me that doesn't want to leave." Enzo sat in stunned silence after Leora's words. Then he moved closer to her on the sofa, his eyes dropping to the wine glass in his hand. Then slowly, heavily, he turned to her. "You always stay. Through danger, through hardship, you never run." He paused, swallowed hard. "And me? For the last 10 years, the thing I've been best at is running away from my own feelings. Your honesty makes me feel like a coward." His thumb lightly brushed across her cheekbone. "You've given me so much, Leora. So tonight, I don't want to run anymore. Let me serve you. Please." Leora didn't answer with words. But the space between them, 10 years of ice, 34 years of loneliness, began to close, slow as the tide, and just as unstoppable. What happened next in that cabin? Neither of them planned it, neither of them could have stopped it, and neither of them would ever be the same after.